Greetings! So farm maps are a problem, right? They are everywhere and players are forced to play them if they want to stay competitive. Some players take up their pitchforks once PP maps get ranked. Others have simply accepted the terrible state of the ranked section. At any rate, we haven't really seen any major changes to the ranking criteria that would consider how much a map would break the PP system. It would save quite a lot of drama, but maybe people like drama. I don't know. Of course, one could say that fixing the PP system is the real solution, because in that case, these maps wouldn't be regarded as farm maps. Or would they? This solution requires a lot of work, and on top of that, there will always be dissatisfied people who don't like the change. There have been some great strides in the PP development, but the updates are few and far between, so maybe let's try to theorize something in the meantime. I want to preface this video by stating that this is going to be purely just for fun, sort of like an armchair theory. The backlash from the community would hardly be worth the benefit the system could provide. We can barely push any updates to the PP system that would nerf some scores in the first place, because players feel entitled to their arbitrary numbers that are not even accurate. So anything more extreme than that is going to be a highly controversial change. But it's fun to theorize regardless, so let's just have a go at it, shall we? A few months ago, I rediscovered Grumd's website that ranks maps by their farminess, and it got me thinking, if we can't reform the mapping criteria, and we need years before we get another PP update, why don't we just remove the farmiest maps from ranked? Until we sort things out. Okay, I know, this is crazy, but hear me out. Although Grumd's website is not perfect, it gives a pretty good estimate to what maps are overrated by the PP system. One of the bigger problems in any PP system is the deviation of farm maps from the average. No matter how much we improve the PP system, we will always encounter a few maps which are a bit farmier than the rest. It's inevitable. Especially since the ranking criteria doesn't really care about how badly the PP system handles some of these maps, which is not good, to say the least, as the competitive nature of the game will ensure that PP maps will be popular regardless of their quality. Of course, we can sit here and argue about whether we should stop certain maps from getting ranked purely because they are farmy, but this video isn't about that. So let me give you some concrete numbers first for my idea. So what if we removed the top 100 maps on Grumd website from ranked and placed them in a limbo where they still have their leaderboards and all that, but they don't give PP? Yeah, I know. That sounds awfully like Loved, but some people really don't like the idea of using the Loved section for this purpose. So let's just put them in the limbo section for now. Anyway, many people would be happy with simply changing the meta ever so often to shake things up, and this solution would achieve that with minimal work. I mean, just look at Overwatch with their weekly bans. You can complain about a lot of things, but stale meta isn't one of them anymore. But even if we went through this crazy plan, there would still be farm maps in the future. What could we possibly do against that, huh? Well, let me propose two options. The first one is doing a yearly sweep, which is kind of too long of a time frame to wait, because just imagine it. You did the top score on January, and 11 months later it's just deleted. And besides, some players are just not in the game that long anyway, so option 2. Every 2 months there will be an X amount of maps getting thrown into the ranked limbo from the previous 4 months. This arrangement would aim to target maps which slip through the cracks either due to the timing they got ranked, or due to periods when higher than average number of farm maps got ranked. There are many problems with maps which are extremely farmy. First, you have the problem of quality, as farminess is prioritized over quality. Then, you have the problem that everyone has to play these maps to stay competitive, which contributes to player burnout. Third, farm maps usually exploit the cracks in the PP system, which causes extra headaches to those who want to develop PP. It takes a lot more time to fix these cracks than to exploit them. Removing the farmiest maps wouldn't just help with keeping the integrity of the competitive scene intact, it would also prevent lazy and unoriginal PP mapping styles from spreading to future mapping generations. It is obvious that many of the past PP maps inspired today's PP mapping, which probably wouldn't have happened if these very popular PP maps had been sent to the Shadow Realm. While you could make the case that the ranking criteria should filter out such maps, it's pretty difficult to make a difference when the majority of the mapping community feels completely comfortable in their complicity. Why make stricter rules when mapping is all about getting your maps ranked to give that sweet, sweet dopamine rush? Removing farm maps in such an automated system would be as impersonal as it can get. There wouldn't be any university thesis-length arguments about whether the mapper and their map is a victim of a targeted takedown. No coincidental PP maps which break the system either. Just pure automation, ensuring that there are no extreme deviations within the system. Sounds like a utopia, doesn't it? But of course, no matter how nice all this sounds, or not, depending on your stance, we have to address the problems with this system. This idea would be quite controversial with the community. Even though the whole system's only aim would be to improve the competitive integrity of the game, people wouldn't be satisfied with such an extreme solution. Players would get mad that some of their scores would be simply removed from the PP pool, as they feel entitled to their PP, for whatever reason. Even though most of the rankings would be more accurate by removing the farmiest maps, the players' attachment to their arbitrary achievements would probably be more important to them than the greater good of the game's competitive integrity. This is why we can't have nice things. Secondly, some mappers would feel wronged that their maps wouldn't give PP anymore. Mappers can feel just as entitled to their maps staying ranked than players to their PP scores, even if it hurts the game in the long run. Another issue is that many members of the community would perceive this as a band-aid fix. Oh, that's actually a good term to add to my next terms video. While it is true that it doesn't address any issues directly, I would argue that this change doesn't really create different problems besides the aforementioned feels getting hurt issue. And can you really call something a band-aid solution that improves a problem without any negative results within the system? A band-aid solution to the PP system usually leaves things unpatched, resulting in problems manifesting elsewhere within the system. Removing the farmiest maps does not change the PP system itself. It cannot really be said that it is a band-aid solution on the level of counting space streams as speed PP, which is already done. It simply creates a boundary to protect the integrity of our PP system that the ranked criteria and the PP system itself are simply incapable of at the moment. Sure, you can call it a band-aid if you want to be really technical and pedantic, as it doesn't address the problems within the PP system through the PP system itself. But by the same virtue, it also cannot create a different problem within the PP system by design. If the highest priority is to improve the rankings, this solution would work, either to a minimal extent or to a greater one. After all, we do have certain boundaries in the ranking criteria regards the PP system. Just imagine if every unranked map would give PP. The whole ranking ladder would be in utter chaos. As we mentioned earlier, the only reason why this wouldn't work is due to the predictable community reaction. So, what should we do? Well, having a site to display our scores and ranks without the farmiest map seems like a decent middle ground. It wouldn't actually affect anything official in that state. People might even prefer it over the official ranking. Who knows? Remember OSTP? Of course, this would mean that the benefit of the worst offending maps not influencing future mapping generations would be lost, but hey, it's a compromise. This solution in itself would be very simple and straightforward, which is a huge plus in a game with so much math and programming problems, and which is driven entirely by its community. And let's not even get into the social hierarchy stuff within the mapping community. But ultimately, it is a solution too extreme for the community. Unless... So what do you guys think? Do you think this solution would work? Or do you think that there are more holes in this theory that I haven't brought up? Has Veto finally gone mad? Leave your comments down below.